Well, we'll just make it casual, whatever you want to do. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody back to another episode, and today we have Kevin Freeley with us and the usual other host, Sean Wallace and Kevin Freeley. And our topic is supposed to be hunting, right? Let's talk about
Yeah.
hunting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Freely. First, talk about the hat you have on. Does that have anything to do with hunting?
It actually does. It's a archery brand. It's called Matthews, and they make the bows that me, my dad use. Um, I don't really do a lot of guns. I used to, but nowadays
We
it's
do a lot of
pretty much bows, especially because there isn't a whole lot of woods outside of my house, and it's a lot quieter. But also, it's a lot harder to get a kill with. There's just a lot more factors that can go wrong. Instead of like a 200-yard shot, you need like a 40-yard like or closer shot. So it's just a lot more of a challenge, and I really enjoy that.
But so do you like what do you do with the after you kill them? Like for example, you kill a rabbit. Do you like eat the meat of it?
Well, I've never shot a rabbit, but for example, after like I shoot a deer, um, I would like I would track it, and then after that can take, depending on how good the shot is. Hopefully, it's a good shot. Thankfully, I've never had a non-fatal shot, and all of the deer I've shot have died pretty fast, which
Just
is
with
something
one
that I
shot?
take.
You just
Huh?
like just with your one first shot, you usually
Yeah,
get them.
and that's something I take seriously too. I don't take that. Like I always aim for lungs and stuff like that. That's gonna get a quick kill. But after you find it, you field dress it, which is basically get all the guts out. Like that's kind of gross. Not a lot of people know about that. And
God,
then you got to drag it out, which kind of sucks. But
they're
if
heavy,
it
right?
like if it's a doe or something like that, I've only shot like one or two, but they're usually pretty small, so you can do that by myself. But usually if it's a buck or something like that, I would call my dad, and then we can drag it out. Or if you have an ATV, you can use that, which is pretty sweet.
What's an ATV? Is it a truck or something?
And all terrain vehicle. It's like a little
Like a
you.
four-wheeler?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Got you. So yeah, like I watched those like the Meat Eater show with the Rogan was in it once upon. So I know like the
Oh,
gutting
Steven
stuff.
Ranella.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
guy. And does so you said you don't usually hunt with bullets. Does it have anything to do with because like bullet like spread inside the animal so that, like the meat will be not as good?
That is a thing that definitely is a factor, but that's not why I personally hunt with a bow. Yeah, like a bow, especially if you get it in the right spot, you're not going to damage any of the meat. You can eat all of it, which is huge because it's like you want to use as much of the animal. You don't want to waste it, and especially with bullets, if you shoot it in a bad spot, you're gonna waste a lot of that meat. And so yeah, that's definitely one reason why. But like I said, the main reason is it's more ethical, and it's a more of a challenge with a bow.
Is it a just a bow or a crossbow?
It's a bow. My dad has a crossbow actually because he has a bad shoulder, so he can't really pull. Like my bow, I think is 65 pounds draw. Um,
Oh, wow. Can you do
yeah,
that?
and that's
I don't think you can, dude.
yeah. Well, I
You're
mean
kind of
that's
small.
yeah, that's me. So imagine someone who's like actually big. They can pull like 80 plus pounds of just of a like draw. But my dad can't. I mean, he can, but not for a whole season. So
Mhm.
he has a crossbow, and it's basically like a gun
Gun,
during bow
but with an
season.
arrow, right?
It can shoot like 1 inch groups at 100 yards. It's crazy. But I actually don't love it because, like I said, the aspect of the bow for me is that it's harder, and I feel like with the crossbow, anything inside of like 60 yards you should get. Which with a bow shooting 60 yards, almost no one can do that, especially at a live animal. So I mean, I don't like the crossbow as much. I've never used it. I probably never will until I have to, until I can't pull back. But yeah.
So
Is like within a range, do you still have to calculate the wind and like like
Is it like golf?
Exactly. Is
Is
it
it like
like
a
golf where you
rangefinder?
have to, the humidity in the air and like the air molecules and how it's gonna travel and stuff with the bow?
Usually not. Like if it's the longest shot I've ever taken at a deer with a bow is probably 35 yards. So, which is just about as comfortable as I am. Like on a target, I can probably shoot like 60, but I'm not comfortable with that taking a shot on a live animal. But yeah, if it was a longer shot, if my dad shoots at like 90 yards and there's wind, it'll move it like way over. But anything under like 40 yards, really, it would have to be a lot of wind to.
And you
really
said you track the animals down, right?
Yeah.
How long does that usually take, and how do you prevent them from like discovering you before?
Well, tracking usually that's only after, like for me, that's after I make the shot, because with the bow,
Oh, I see.
going on foot, getting in range on foot would be almost impossible. People do it, and like out in the Midwest where it's just like plains and wide open stuff, a lot of people it's called spot and stock. So they
It's not like
range
hunting Bigfoot, is it?
no.
Yeah. Okay. Just
Yeah. Yeah, so they would like range this entire like field, and then they would go and choose one buck or elk or something like that, and then they would target that animal for the next like day and a half. But this is like what I do is I scout during like the summer and during the spring, see where like the trails are, and then I would set up a stand, a tree stand at that spot where like a trail meets or there's a food source, and then I just wait for the deer to come by. But yeah, the tracking is like tracking the blood trail after you get a shot.
So
Go ahead, Sean.
do you like sit out in a tent, like a hammock, or like do you just sit there and wait for it to come, or do you just
A hammock?
Hammock. It's like the thing.
Yeah, I actually lie down in this hammock, and then when I hear a deer, I just pop up. No, no. There's So you go in and you hang these stands. They're basically like this platform, probably I don't know, 2 feet by 2 feet is a big one, and it just like you fold it down, and then it kind of sticks on the tree just by the weight of you on there. It just kind of like, just like physics, it just like stops. And then there's like a little seat that's like this big, and then you go sit out in that, and that can be like 20 feet to like 30 feet high.
Wait, so you're always in the trees when you're waiting for what? Why is that a necessity? Why do you have to be in the trees?
Well, it's not a necessity. I always hunt from a tree, just because like some people, if they're scared of heights, they don't really like it. But you usually deer don't look up. Like none of their natural predators are up high. So, and it can be that your scent is blown over them instead of, if you're on the ground, they can smell you more.
So do you not have to wear camouflage when you're hunting?
Oh no, you still do. Deer are actually colorblind, so they can really only see blues well and they see yellows well. But like when people wear orange, they can't see it.
That's what I'm gonna do. Neon orange fit and go out.
Yeah.
So, like, when you said you have to track them afterwards, is it because like I've seen like some videos about shooting different kind of animals, and they like the adrenaline rush, like when you shoot them, they start jumping and then like run like sprints for like 20-50 yards. Is that what you meant by like tracking them after you shot?
Yeah, well, ideally you get a good shot, like lungs, heart, something like that, and they run no more than 100 yards, and you can hear them fall or you see them fall. But when I was in Kentucky last season, the buck I shot there, since it like I made a really good shot, but since it was just an old deer, like they just get really strong, it ran for longer. And that's just because like it's like got thicker skin, more muscle, stuff like that. But yeah, the tracking, usually it shouldn't take more than like 10 minutes or something like that. If you make a bad shot, it could take 1 or 2 days, or the animal doesn't die, which is actually better than if it does die and you don't find it, because then you wasted that entire life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If like, have you ever hunted moose before? I don't know why it just like popped up to me.
No, but I want to.
Because they're huge. I've seen one
Yeah.
like when I went to a golf course and they're like elephant size. Like if the thing you hunted is like so big, do you carry the whole thing or you just like chop off like the legs or like the meaty part first and then come back later and like
That's a good question. So yeah, moose and elk, like those are two pretty big.
elk meat?
Yeah. Um, and what you do is you like, I don't know how you do it, but it's called packing the animal out, and you take off like a leg or you take off like this strip of meat and you put it in backpacks and you have to walk out for miles with like 80 pounds worth of stuff on. Or you can have a lot of people bring horses on those type of hunts too, which can save probably like 2 or 3 days.
Why don't they just shoot the horse then? You know?
It's not gonna shoot a horse.
How far deep into the woods do you have to go to like find quality, you know, animals to kill?
Well, I mean, around here, especially, I don't know why, but the woods behind my mom's house always produces giant bucks. I'm not sure why, but I haven't seen any other spot in Massachusetts quite like it. And literally, I shot my doe like 60 yards from where I'm sitting now. So, um, like you don't really have to go far around here. Out in the Midwest and stuff, obviously there isn't really a suburban setting like this. Bat hunting is more like on huge farms with cornfields and stuff like that. But like my dad has a house, a log cabin out in the Berkshires, which is basically like Western Mass, and our land touches Vermont, so that's how far north. And there are huge woods, but there are less. But we see less deer than we do here because there's so much woods for them to spread out that you see them less.
But when you find them, they're usually bigger, right? That's my guess.
Not always. See, that's the thing. So like we've seen a couple nice bucks there throughout the years, but for some reason here there's always just giant deer.
What's the hunting season? Is it spring?
It's fall, so it's like early October to it's like mid-October to December 31st.
So after you kill like a buck or something, I was wondering, do you like keep the skin? Do you like make coats out of it, or like?
Oh, that would be a dope fit to school. I'm just
Why didn't you wear that to prom?
Yeah. No, usually people only shoot a buck if they're gonna mount it, unless it's like shooting your first one, or if it's you want to get that buck genes out of the gene pool or something like that. So yeah, like right here, this is a buck mount.
Oh, it's a real one? I thought. Oh
Yeah.
my God. What's the little metal hanging off of?
Oh, that's just like a medal that
Okay.
I
Nothing
that was for like
hunting
soccer or
stuff?
something.
All right.
So yeah, that's the one my dad shot in New York actually, like 20 years ago. And so what they do is it's called caping it. So that's the cape, and it's basically like the shoulder up, and then you'd put the rack on. But if you don't do that, you can just get the rack. Like usually you're not going to do that to a buck that's really small. You're just not going to mount it. Like
How
you
much
might
is
take the rack, but you're not going to mount it.
like how much does that buck weigh? Like the one on in your house right now? Like
Um,
150
like
pounds
like that mount, or how much it weighed when it was alive.
when it was alive.
Oh, that was actually I think the second biggest deer shot in New York that year, which for some reason New York has really small deer, not rack wise, but like weight. I think that was like 180 pounds dressed or something like that. Which dressed means without the guts. So the guts add another like 50 pounds or so. So live weight that was probably like 230 pounds.
Damn, that's like 2 Carrabba's. Wow,
Yeah.
that's a
The
lot.
one I shot in Kentucky was 220 pounds dressed, which means almost a 300-pound animal live weight, which is pretty crazy.
And you
That's
telling me you have to drag them out of the woods by yourself?
Well, that wasn't by myself, and they had this little like golf cart thing that they put it in, and then they just drove out with it. But that was dragging that out would have taken hours.
Got you. So, like, for example, for that one that's hanging on your wall, do you have to like carve the meat out and like mummify it? Like that, is that how you do it?
So after we field dress it, we take it to a butcher who gets the meat, and then the butcher, you can tell them to cut out the like what I said, cape, and then you send the cape to a taxidermy, and then they do all the mounting and stuff, and then they send it back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Okay. Lucrative business. I'm curious as to like, do you ever encounter like predators like when you're hunting, like any jaguars around here? Like, what do you do in that situation?
Jaguars.
Or is it
Um,
frogs jumping around?
I've ran into some coyotes that I'm sure thought about taking a chance.
At
But
your at like the meat or at you?
at me, but I don't think I just one or two. I don't think would give any full size person a problem.
Have you thought
Maybe,
about shooting them?
huh?
Have you thought about hunting them? Like when you spot one?
Yeah, I mean that's the goal because they eat a lot of deer fawns. So that fawn that could have grown up to be this huge buck is gonna get eaten. But yeah, usually like I think my dad had a shot at one last season, but he didn't because he didn't want to deal with it and it wasn't in season. So
I once saw a coyote at my at Harmon, my local golf course. They're like everywhere.
oh
I thought it
really?
was
Yeah,
like a big dog, but then I was kind of wrong.
yeah. They eat house cats and like dogs too.
Not good, Sean. Not good. So, um, so what's like? Do you need a license for hunting anywhere, right? Is it
Yeah,
like
yeah.
How
how do
old do you have to be?
yeah?
Um, I think you need to be 16, but you need to take a safety course first. So I took the safety course and I was like, I think 14 and a half. And then I got my license when I was like 15 and a half.
Is it for every like all kinds of weapon, or is it just for bow? And then there's one for crossbow. There's one for spear hunting or like whatnot.
Well, I actually don't think there's spear hunting in Massachusetts,
Is it
but for
not allowed?
bow, like I've hunted with bow like since last season, the season before that, so I was 15. So yeah, bow you can be like 15 and a half. That might be wrong, but then guns, I think it has to be 18. You can get your FID card, which is like you can own guns.
Mm-hmm.
But and then crossbow actually is illegal in Massachusetts unless you have like a messed up shoulder or something with that you can't pull back.
Why is that? Is it just for safety
Um,
reasons?
because it's easier and like it would result in maybe too many deer being killed. I think one day they're gonna have to make it legal for everyone because less and less people or more and more people are getting out of hunting than people that are getting into it. So as a state, we're just losing hunters. So less deer are being shot, and there's already an overpopulation. So I think they'll have to make it legal for everyone
What what's
at some point.
what's the reason for people to get out of hunting? Like more people, we're losing more hunters.
Don't have access to land, or they're the only one in their family that really does it. They don't really have anybody to go with.
Veganism.
Yeah,
You think it's related to
or
politics?
huh?
You think it's related to politics?
Um, well, in Massachusetts, probably just because it's so liberal, but like out in the Midwest, I'd say I'm like 80% of the population probably hunts. Um, yeah, like I said, in Massachusetts case, probably. But like if I didn't grow up with it, like my dad didn't teach me, or if his family didn't do it, I probably wouldn't have. Like I don't think I would have woken up one day and gone, I want to hunt. Like no one really gets into it unless they grow up with it.
But you would think that like I listen to Rogan a lot and like I that's kind of partially inspired me to I kind of want to do it. And also like, rock climbing, like no one like 2 decades ago, no one rock climbed back then. But the Alex Honnold, like that guy, he made a movie about it, like for soloing Al Cap, and he went on Rogan, like now the number of like climbers have like shot up. But why is not do you think that's not the case for hunting because it's been around for so long and it's already kind of, you know, like
I don't know. I don't think it'll ever go away. I just think that if you don't grow up with it, you're not gonna really get into it. Like when I took my safety course, most of the people were kids my age who their parents did it or their dad did it, and it was their turn. There were like two adults that were doing it, and it's great to see them get into it, but it's a lot rarer. But yeah, I don't know why that specifically hunting is losing more than say like rock climbing or something like that.
Do you think?
Like, go ahead, Sean.
Do you think it's just because fewer people just want to go out there and like kill things? Because like you do have to like kill, and a lot of people just wouldn't be down.
Yeah.
Because more and more people are like doing veganism and vegetarianism and all that.
So I think it's that big of a part though. Like, how many vegans do you actually know?
Solid, like
maybe people just getting lazy and playing Among Us and being mega sus. Maybe that's the reason. Wait, so let's say, is it because of the accessibility? Let's say I just want to pick up hunting today and I don't know you freely, so I have nowhere to go. So can I just go to like a local, like, I don't know, like a range person and they can teach me how to shoot a bow and it? Like, is that?
Yeah, that's definitely, I think that accessibility is one thing as compared to like fishing or something like that. Because if you want to go fishing, you buy a $20 rod and you buy a few lures and you go to the nearest pond and you go and fish, which is like, that's one thing that's so awesome. But for hunting, like you would need access to land. There's some public land since, right, you live in Braintree, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any public land that you can hunt in Braintree, but you can go. You can knock on someone's door if they have like a few acres in their backyard, not in their yard, but if they own land, you can go and knock on their door and ask for permission. But
we have
yeah.
Or the crossbow and like, can I shoot things in your yard, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have like a shitty woody area in the back, but I don't think there's like facing.
I live next to a state park.
What park?
Ames Knoll State Park.
So there's a pond there, and I fish there a lot. But I'm actually pretty sure you can't hunt there. But I've seen deer there, so there's obviously deer.
Yeah, there's deer like in our yard. My brother was walking through and he saw people with some rifles, but they look
really
like a sus.
Just with some rifles.
Really sus.
They're there to hunt or like.
That's
hunting.
crazy. Maybe there is hunting there.
Wait, is it?
I didn't know it.
Do you usually hunt in like public lands or like private lands? I didn't know that people can own that much land in like Massachusetts. That must be like
well yeah, like my mom says we own like 3 acres, which isn't a lot, and I hunt on that 3 acres, but it's connected to about 260 out the back that has like public trails going through it and stuff. So there's a big chunk of woods there, and I think that's why there's so many big deer there. But I only have access to 3 acres of that. I mean, I could go onto somebody else's land, they would never know, but I don't know, I just don't really want to mess with that
ecosystem.
Yeah, no, I just don't want to get caught going on someone else's land. And I walk on the trails a lot, and I go on the public land to go and scout, and I have game cameras there to just get info on what deer are there. But I've never set up a stand on land that I didn't own or have permission to hunt on.
Also, do you have to report like any animal that you hunted, like to the organization, so they can keep track of the numbers and stuff, right?
Yeah. So when you get your license, you get 2 buck tags.
Oh.
Well, it's not, but it's antler deer tags. So it's anything with like a 3-inch antler. Like if you get a doe tag and you shoot a buck with like, it's called a button buck, and it's like a buck's first year, and they don't have antlers, they have little like nubs. So you can shoot one of those and say it was a doe.
Is that to determine the age of the buck?
Yeah. So usually, like the older they get, the bigger racks, the thicker the racks get, the bigger their neck gets. Like you can just tell after hunting for a long time. Like you can just age a deer. But I've shot 1 2.5-year-old deer. I don't really like to shoot young deer. And I mean, the average buck that gets shot in Massachusetts is 2.5. A 4.5-year-old deer is really old. They only live for about, like The oldest deer I've ever seen in mass was probably like 6 or 7.
So what Freely and Sean and I were talking about this before we started recording, and then we wanted to get into the, the not politics, but like the, eating meat, like hunting, like the morality of hunting.
Ethics of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ethics of it. So yeah, like Freely, so do you hunt usually, like, of course it's your hobby, but you don't waste the food. Like, for example, that 220-pound huge one, I don't know if you like ate it or something. Like how long does the food last for like that one buck?
Well, that one, since I shot on the last day, we didn't have time to take the meat home, but we gave it to our guide.
Oh, you have
So
a guide?
yeah, so he's the one. So when I was in Kentucky, I actually sat with him in the stand. We had stands on back to back sides of like one big tree, and he was filming me the entire week, and he got my shot all on camera. I have the video, but it's really blurry and you can't see anything. And when we go back next year, I'm gonna ask for like the actual video. So yeah, that was cool. I mean, I'll be watching that. I'll be showing my like grandkids that, like that video will always be watched. But yeah, that one we couldn't eat because we shot on the last day, but we gave it to him. And but yeah, all of the other deer, like I think in total last season between me and my dad, he got 2 bucks and I got a doe in mass. And I mean that meat will last two and a half years probably.
You just store them in your fridge, like chop them, and then
Probably.
shove it in your fridge.
Yeah, so he has a big freezer in his basement, and you can get the meat in steak, which is our favorite. You get it in Hamburg, which is like you can make burgers out of it. You can make roast beef, meatloaf. Actually, I don't know about roast beef, but you can make meatloaf. You can make tacos. That's the one you get the most of, just because it's really easy for the butcher to make. You can get it in jerky and stuff like that, but we don't really do that. We just get it in steak and Hamburg.
So you know how like so Chinese people they eat like intestines, brains, and like any part you can think of. Maybe not like ass, but like anywhere else, we like just consume them whole. And I see like if I go to the fish market or like I go to any like place that have like butchers and stuff, they just like the American places they left out all the intestines and like brains and everything. They just have the parts where you can make them into steaks and stuff. Like, do you like you probably get rid of that part, right? Do you think it's also consumed like somewhere else, or is it just thrown away? How much of a buck would you say is eventually eaten by?
I would say obviously some people, actually a lot of people eat the heart. They just take it raw and they just eat it as like a kind of as a respect thing. And but I know one thing is actually a lot of people in the Midwest eat the tongues, which is kind of weird.
They're good. I'm telling you, they're good. You should try it. Pig tongues are good. Cow tongues are huge. They're like this.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know cow tongue's a thing, but yeah, a lot of people eat the deer tongue, and then a lot of people eat the heart. But the rest of the guts, I don't really know how much that is used, but obviously, like all of the meat is used. All of the, I mean, if you get a mount, the skin is used. And I'm sure you can do something else if you don't mount it with the rest of the skin. I just usually never do. A lot of people save, like, it sounds weird, but I think people save the hooves, which I don't know. I don't really get that, but I don't know.
Do you think this is just random question, but I don't know if you know the answer, but like why don't they just domestic like deers instead? Is it because there's not much meat to it? Is that why?
Why they don't like farm deer?
Yeah, like why don't they just like
I know there are deer farms, but I don't think it's for me. I think it's more to research them and to sell like when the does go into estrus is to sell that like urine, and then you can get it, you can buy that, and then you can like put it on a tree, and then the bucks will be attracted to it.
actually? Is it like a
Yeah.
mating thing?
Yeah, so that's one thing is you can go and buy doe estrus pee and then put it on like the base of your tree, and then bucks will smell that for like a huge distance, and then they can come and smell that. Yeah, scent is another huge thing.
Animals are horny too, huh?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, during the rut, which is when the bucks breed, they get so stupid. They all they care about is just getting a doe. Like there was this one 8-pointer that I passed on. I probably shouldn't have passed on it. It was a really nice buck, but I thought that it was the ethical choice because it hadn't reached its full like capacity yet. It still had one more year, and it came to my tree, like looked up at me, and it didn't even care. It just kept on because a doe had gone through the night before, and it was just following her scent. But they get so dumb. They don't move during the day, but during the rut they can come by at like noon.
Do they recognize humans? Are they like afraid of you guys or?
It depends. Like there's like where my stand is about 100 yards away. I'm probably like 150 yards away is a walking trail, and sometimes deer will be at my stand that I'm not going to shoot. And people will be walking by the trail and they see them, but they're not scared because they're used to it. But if they saw me walking in outside of the trail, like on through one of their runs, they would probably be scared because I'm not supposed to be there where they're used to the people walking out in the.
I just thought of a really good way for you easy way for you to hunt.
All right, let's see.
Kind of big brain. So like, you have a doe, right? And then
Mhm.
like you kill the doe, and then you like skinned it or whatever, and you put like a little, supporting thing in the bottom, and then you like make it feel like it's alive, like spray some scent on it, and just like put it under the tree where you guys are hiding from.
That doe is the imposter.
Yeah, the imposter, and wait till the horny bucks to just like approach her and then just like kill them all.
Yeah, well, that is actually a thing. I don't know about like
I knew it.
Yeah, you knew it. I don't know about making a move, but you can it's called using a decoy. You can't do it in mass, but they'll go out on like the edge of a field, put the doe like 20 yards away from their stand, spray it with that scent, and then the bucks will like try to breed like the doe. That actually happened to me. So I shot a doe. This is kind of off topic, but I shot a doe that was obviously in heat, and a buck was right behind it. I could have shot the buck too, but it wasn't big enough. And then when my dad came out, I think my sister was with him too. But they're dragging this like metal cart that we're gonna put it on to help drag it out, right? And then this buck is standing over the dead doe, like about to breed this thing. And that's after like making a ton of noise. Yeah, he's down bad. We're like dragging this metal cart with like a flashlight, making noise. Like that buck should have ran, but it was so turned on that it wanted to breed the dead doe, and it didn't care about them.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Kind of messed up.
it is messed up.
Oh my god, that horrendous thing just like broke my train of thought. What was I gonna ask? Sean, you go ahead. Do you have any questions? This is a very interesting topic. I would for all the audience that don't know, like Freely and I have been planning on going spear hunting grizzly bears for a while now, but due to inexperience, I think it's gonna take like 1 or 2 years, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, going back to our original topic, which we never like really touch upon.
Oh, so, yeah, the ethics.
Yeah. So yeah, like what? So if I'm against it, which I'm not, like what people would say, like they don't care about your interests. Like what's the point? You have enough meat. Not to say like, are some people are even against like eating domestic animals.
Yeah, well, that's I think about that a lot from someone who's against it from their point of view, and I can't really give an like it's just something about you just have to do it. There's something about providing your own food and taking the life of another animal. I don't take it lightly. It's something that I really take seriously, and I think about it each time I'm about to shoot a deer. Do I really want to kill this thing or not? Because it has a life. I don't want to. I want to use all of its meat. I don't want to kill it just to have a bad shot and then it die and then me not find it. So it's something that I think about a lot. And I guess one argument you can make is if you eat meat from the store, that animal had worse of a life than the deer. It was, grown up in some pen eating corn or something like that with not a real field, or most likely not a real field or anything like that. And it had to die too. So it's just whether you're doing the act of killing it. And it's something that I really take a lot of thought into and a lot of pride in, that I've never had a badly wounded deer or something like that. And I guess you just have to experience it to, provide for yourself and to go out and to chase it and to put all the hours in throughout the season. And it's just an experience that you can't really explain unless you do it.
It's so crazy, right? Like, think about it. Like, every time you go to the grocery store and you get food, like, there's so many steps, like, before that has to, like, really work in order for you to get that processed meat of a particular part of an animal. And like
Yeah.
everything else is like although you're paying for it, like, your money is kind of like the value, the effort you're putting into like earning the food. But you're like, if apocalypse, I don't know why, but like I have this weird, it's not a fetish, but it's like a thing that goes on in my head. I always think like apocalypse is gonna happen, and I legit have this small bag of things that I'm like prepared. Like, I have mushrooms and stuff in it, because like, you can like like, if in the wild you have nothing, you can like just use your poop and like grow mushrooms and stuff, and you can like
Oh
live
yeah.
forever. So I always like fantasize about that scenario, and I think it's so cool that you can just like get your own food with like bow and arrow. And like the only thing, yeah, I sometimes, because I really want to start hunting, but like I sometimes like try to imagine, but I probably can't, is like the moment when you kill an actual life. Because like I've stepped on ants before, but that's like a totally different, probably
Yeah.
But how is it different though?
You can make
kind
that
of philosophical,
argument
Sean.
too.
But it's just a smaller version. It's like a small deer, just a little teeny tiny
Yeah, what do
deer.
we think about that? Are all lives created equal?
I mean, I've thought about that a lot too. When I grew up, I would shoot squirrels in the backyard, or like chipmunks and stuff when they get
And
in.
it's just society,
It's kind
Yeah.
of weird.
No, it's just kind of one of those things. Like my dad did it. We would have squirrel eradication weekends up at our log cabin, and basically like my whole dad's side of the family, we would go out in teams of two, and whoever can shoot the most wins. And like obviously, I think it's different than like smushing an ant to killing a squirrel to killing a deer is a lot different. I think you can make the argument that a life is a life, and that's true. But I think it's in my opinion, so many people like have squished on ants and then make like turn around and go, oh, killing animals is like wrong. um
But it's
yeah,
almost always like a dare when you were like 2 years old, and you'd be like, I want to prove myself I'm a man. And you like step on an ant and be like, eat something,
You gotta kill
You
the
don't like
ant.
you don't like kill it for the thrill of like killing
But like,
it.
what if there's like a spider in your house? That thing's dead.
yeah,
Killing that
uh,
immediately.
Those
yeah, like
roaches that can
yeah,
fly, they're different. All right,
but I
proceed. What
think
were you gonna say?
just one last thing. Like I said, I've thought about this more and more as I've started bow hunting. And I think like anytime when I'm about to draw back or something like that, I'm like, do I really want to do this? Like this isn't something to take lightly. This is taking some animal's life. Um, and I think, like I said, a lot of people that eat meat but don't like hunting, they can't really say, oh, that's wrong or something like that. But personally, I would rather eat the deer that's grown up free range in the wild that's been eating all this natural stuff than that cow that was pumped full of corn its
Yeah.
entire life.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I have like two things I want to say. Like the first one is like I think you pointed that out earlier too, is like the torture part. Like as long as it's a quick sudden death and like you appreciate like the food you get and you're gonna like make good use of it, I think it's fine. Like the criticism there's like one small village in China that eat dogs. Like that's the only part where people like genuinely like most people eat dogs is that one part of small village in like southeast China. And what they do, I feel like why they get criticized so much is not only that they're eating dogs and like many Western households like have dogs, it's also that they have this festival that they torture dogs for fun. They would just like throw the dog into like boiling water, and like there's a myth that the more you torture the dog, the better the meat is gonna taste. Like
Didn't
if
know that.
that's freaking disgusting. But like that's interesting because that's the only part where in China where people actually eat dogs and they decide to do it that way. I feel like if because like I think I know there are certain places in South America, I could be wrong, but like there's certain places, not in China, in the other places that they just have like dogs that are called meat dogs, where they just their only purpose is they're not pets, they're just like meat, like people eat them for meat, their meat, and they're
Yeah,
like
it's like the
domestic.
equivalent of like farming cows or
Yeah,
something like
yeah, they're like and they're like treated nicely, and they get a quick sudden death,
that.
and that's like a respected way for them to instead of like torturing them and thinking that it'll make the food taste better. And also like when you talk about like how like uh chickens are like corn fed, they're like I watched a film. I think I watched a film at there like one of the classes. I forgot which class was it, but they talk about like chicken farms and
I
how
think
like,
I watched the same one.
yeah, we all did. I think we all did. It's like how chickens grow so fat because they have no sunlight. And like also like, pugachus, like they're genetically modified for people's like, you know, taste to be like stupid fat and like short legs and stuff. Like they're not functioning normally. So I feel like that's like part of the beauty of like hunting is like you do it yourself and it's like all natural and you have the appreciation and you have to have the knowledge in order to know what like what like the primal instinct as Joe Rogan would say the
Yeah, no, it's definitely something. It's something special that, like I said, you can't really explain unless you've done it. If you do want to get into hunting, like just start looking up stuff. I can probably go back through what I did and then like send you to the same spot. But yeah, like it's when you it's called buck fever is like is like something that like the hunting world knows, and
Mhm.
like your heart just races so much when that thing steps out into your view. It's like when I shot my first deer, I almost fainted because I was just like I was so pumped up, and like I was like 12 I think, and
Are you sure it's not because of peanuts?
yeah, I'm sure.
He has a peanut allergy. Okay.
Yeah, but also 12 I was like, I don't know, like 90 pounds or something like that, and I'm shooting this gun and almost like knocked me back over, and like your heart just goes so fast, like especially when I shot that buck in Kentucky, which was one of the best days of my entire life. My dad shot one a few hours after, and it was just like one of the best experiences you could possibly have. And again, if you don't hunt, you would think it's like murder or something like that, but um it was just the most emotional day because I shot it. It was a perfect shot, but since it was such a tough animal, there wasn't a lot of penetration for the arrow. So ideally the arrow goes through. You get both lungs or something like that. I
Mhm.
got one lung or something like that, which I can really change. I made a good shot. I must have hit a rib or something like that, and we went back and tracked it, like, and keep in mind, an ethical kill is considered the deer dies within 2 hours or something like that, which I mean I know it sounds bad, but most people shoot in the middle of the deer. They don't aim for lungs or anything like that, and the deer takes like almost a day to just die.
What do you
um
usually aim for? Is it the heart, the lung? Like what's the part where
So like
Those
it's like, heart, lungs, it's all in like the upper chest.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like the worst kill quote of my short hunting career, but it still wasn't. I mean, the deer died within an hour and a half, which I know sounds bad, but that's really in the grand scheme of things pretty fast. And we went and we tracked it. There wasn't a lot of blood, and then it ran. And I thought, I didn't get a good shot. It's gonna run. We're not gonna find it. And the thing that really pissed me off was because I knew it was going to die, but we were leaving that night, and I knew that if it died the next day, we weren't going to find it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like I said, the part that really angered me the most. But we didn't know it at the time, but it ran when we jumped it. It ran down a hill into like a little pond, and it died probably a few minutes after that. So like, but then we came back later in the day with dogs, and we found it. We probably could have came back 20 minutes later, and it would have been fine, but we didn't want to chance it. And all of the emotion of me thinking I had a perfect shot to thinking we're not going to get it, we're going to leave that day for a 17-year-old kid. Like that's a lot of stuff. If you don't grow up with hunting, the size of the deer is the biggest one I'd ever seen. My dad's been hunting for 40 years, and it's the biggest one he had ever seen. And to let that chance slip away was just like, it was crushing me. And then when those dogs finally found it, it was just like all these emotions were just let out. It was crazy. Me and this other guy, his name was Tegan. We were going crazy. We'd put in the entire week. It was like 70 degrees, which when you're in a stand for 13 hours and 70 degrees, that kind of sucks. So it was just like the very end of this whole journey, and it was just like all these emotions just came out, and it was just like I said, my dad got one a few hours later. It was just the greatest experience, and I wouldn't change it. Like, I wouldn't change a single thing about that entire week, because it ended amazing. I learned so many life lessons. My dad was there to see it. I was there to spend it with him. It was just perfect, and like, you wouldn't get that if you didn't hunt.
Mm-hmm. So
Have
it's
you
like
eaten that thing yet? Like,
that's Sean's.
especially, does it taste like victory?
Well, like I said, we couldn't eat that one because we left that night.
So another person.
Wait, I thought you found it at last. Did you track
We
it
did,
down?
but we couldn't eat it because we couldn't send it to the butcher in time to get it on our flight and like stuff like that.
So did you still drag it out and left it for someone else, or you left it there?
So we put it on that golf cart thing. They got it out, and then we said, "Hey, we have to leave," because I mean, they knew that we were leaving. So we gave the meat to our guide, and then they sent it to the butcher. They sent it to the taxidermist, and then the taxidermist is going to send us the mounts.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Can you have a poison tip? That's gonna ruin the animal, right? Like in Rambo when they have an explosive arrow. That's kind of poker.
Explosive arrows. I feel like that would probably do the job.
I'm sure it exists, but you would never hunt with.
No, but like poison tip, you won't do that either, right? Because that's just gonna ruin the meat or like whatever.
I know there are some cultures, and
What's with the
Low
like
darts?
yeah,
Yes.
that's what I'm talking about. I know there's some cultures in, I think, South America and stuff like that hunt with the blow dart, and they have poison on them. But I don't think you would. I don't think anybody does that for deer or anything like that.
got you. Yeah, it's like a whole experience. It's not just like for people to understand. It's not just the shooting motion and the animal dying, and it's like a whole. Honestly,
What's the process?
Yeah, no,
it's like a whole experience, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you said that, because there's so many times, spending with my dad, with my cousins, with my uncles, that I wouldn't have had, if, because we all came together for a weekend to go hunting or something like that, and being in the outdoors too, I feel like a lot of kids are playing video games and stuff like that, and I really don't. I'd rather go fishing or going hunting or something like that.
Clash of Clans gang.
Yeah.
So if if that day you didn't find it, and like let's say you had a really bad shot, or the buck was just really tough and it just like ran away and survived, or like you had the suspicion that it survived, like what now? Like let's say if it stayed at the spot, do you like shoot another arrow at it, or like if
So if we found it and it was wounded, I would have shot it again.
Mhm.
But that guy was telling me a story of this, I think 8.5-year-old deer, which super old, tough. It had gone shot 11 times by like 10 different guys.
50-cent deer.
Yeah, 50-cent deer. It literally tanked 11 shots. And because these guys that get all nervous, and some of it was with a gun too, but they shoot at the rack and they shoot like one of the antlers off. Some guy shot the jaw and it had its tongue hanging out. Like that's the type of stuff that people, I think thankfully I've never done that. But this deer, and like not all shots were that bad. This deer was just wicked tough. They just didn't hit lungs, heart, liver, something like that. And over the course of like 2.5 years, it just lived this horrible life.
Oh my God. At that point, they should just leave it like alone, Like there was in 2008, we had a really bad earthquake in China, and there was this pig that got buried for like 2 months and didn't die of starvation. Like it was eating its own poo and like dirt and stuff. And then when people like rediscover like what's the word? When they found like when they saved it, they just be like, we're gonna, give you a little museum and you can like chill there for the rest of your life. We're not gonna eat you. And it's still alive today. So I think that's what they should have done with the buck.
Yeah. But if mine did survive, I would have rather it survive than die and we not find it. And I think if it was, I mean, it'd still be alive now. It just would be living with like this like hole in it, which would suck. But thankfully, like some people like that deer that got shot like 9.5 times. Those people, like it's called like I said, buck fever. Like when you see a deer like that, you start shaking. And me and my dad, we just don't shake. Like I know it sounds really
unfazed.
Yeah,
that Michael Jordan mindset, the Mamba mentality.
No, yeah, it sounds really cocky, but I shaked a lot. Like I said, I almost fainted for my first deer. For my first buck, I was shaking. But even when I shot that, when I first stepped out and I saw it, my heart was like going crazy, but my hands didn't shake. And that's how people miss. That's how people shoot at the rack, or they get nervous and they're looking at the rack instead of looking at where they're supposed to be, instead of where they're supposed to shoot.
You have to calculate the movement of it and then like pre-plan where it's gonna be.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's staying
right.
still.
Right.
But yeah, like people get really nervous. They shoot at the rack. They shoot the head or something like that. And me and my dad, we just don't. Like I don't know why, but like it's like I said, it sounds really cocky, but like I shake after, which is good because I'd rather shake after and get excited after you got a good shot than shake during and then miss. Like I still get excited and I still enjoy it, but my hands are just like that.
Ice in the vein.
Yeah.
Can you reuse the arrow, and like do they have like, I know like some crossbows have like a laser thingy is that right?
I don't know about that. They make like red dot scopes, which
is that's what I meant.
Yeah. You can reuse the arrows. Like I have 10 or so that I take, and that's 10 deer. You're never gonna shoot that many deer. But usually what I like to do to like out of respect kind of too is I save the arrow and I don't use it again. Like I'll put the arrow, like I'll hang it on the rack of the mount. Just that was it. Like I'm not gonna use it. I'm not gonna use it. But like for target practice, I use the same like 4 or 5 arrows or something like that.
Got you. What was I gonna ask? There was something that Sean, do you have any?
Weren't you asking about like a scope or something on to like shoot the
Oh
deer?
yes, I remembered because I know a friend of mine, like he does like HEMA, like European like swords fighting and stuff. I know, and like I follow that kind of content and like there's a Chinese weapon called Choku Nu, which is like you can like do double shots, and there's like English longbow. So like the more ancient ones do like your bow like the compound boat like that people use at the Olympics? Is that the kind of boat you use?
Not the ones that like because those have like the huge like 5 foot long stabilizers going out the front.
Yeah, like
So
they
like yeah,
super.
mine is actually it's pretty small. It's pretty compact, which is good because when you're carrying it in and out of the woods, you don't want this giant bow, and you don't want and when like you're pulling it up the tree, you don't want it banging into the side of the tree and stuff. Yeah, it's a compound bow. It can shoot like up to 80 pounds or something like that. And I think like foot per second is something like high 200s or something like that. Which I mean is fast enough, but obviously if you're pulling back 80 pounds or something like you're shooting like 350 or something like that.
The sound of it, like the arrow leaving the bow, is like like that is so like satisfying. I've seen so many
Yeah.
videos of it. It's like binge watch those.
Yeah, well, one thing about the this brand and the specific hunting bows that they make is they're so quiet when the arrow is released that the deer. So it's called string jump. Is sometimes they can hear the arrow go like leave the bow, and
Hmm.
then they duck like when they get ready to jump. They they bend their legs and then they and then they and that's called ducking. And basically, what happens is if they duck the arrow, it can go over, or it can hit him in the spine, or it can hit him in a non-fatal spot. And that's just the worst because with a spine shot, they drop there, but they're kicking around, and it's just you just don't want to deal with it.
Right, you don't want to miss hit because that's just going to cause more pain to the animal.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I take a lot of pride in having a good shot, and if and like I've passed bucks because it was too dark, I couldn't see where I was aiming, or it was too far, or there was a stick in the way, or
Hmm.
I couldn't see, or I could only see like the back half, and I didn't see lungs. And if I shot that, the deer probably wouldn't have died or would have died in a day, and I just wouldn't want that because it's like I said, it's a pretty heavy topic to take away someone's life. Well, not someone's, but some animal's life.
Got you. So, like, is there? You've talked about the age of the deers, the bucks. So, is there like a protocol? Like, is there a restriction as to what kind of deer? Because I would assume I don't think because I've learned about this and we've talked about this how like the ones people are hunting they've already reproduced and then they're like old. They've done their job mission as a deer, and then
Mm.
they're gonna die anyways by themselves. So you could just like consume the meat. So is there like the Massachusetts, I don't know, like organization that says like this is how we're gonna make sure that the ecosystem doesn't get influenced by you guys, so you guys have to go for those kinds of deers?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good on paper, but I think it'd be really hard to enforce.
Yeah.
Most people, if it has a rack, they're gonna shoot it, which really sucks. It's why Massachusetts doesn't have a lot of big deer. Like out in Kentucky, there were these bucks that like once in a lifetime deer if you were in Mass, but they're too young to shoot there. So they
Got
have this, they can control the population and bring up these young deer to be old enough. And if everyone in Massachusetts had the idea of, hey, I'm not going to shoot the deer unless it's 3.5, something like that, within a few years, Massachusetts would have big bucks all over the place. But like I said, most people that hunt don't do that. There's a saying: if it's brown, it's down. So like if they see a deer, they're gonna shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, most people only hunt with like shotguns stuff like that, which is a
And
2
hunt with shotguns. How are we gonna eat the meat if the bullets?
No, well, it's a shotgun, but it shoots a slug. So
Okay.
yeah, and the shotgun season is 2 weeks in between bow and muzzleloader, and most people are those 2 week hunters that get drunk on the weekends and go out with a gun and they see a deer and they shoot it, and that isn't a thing usually out in the Midwest where it's more of a lifestyle.
Gotcha.
There's an episode of Parks and Recreation about that. If you've watched the show,
I have
a trip to the, I don't know where they went, to
to
a
like
log cabin.
Ron's cabin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can you hunt in national parks? That's not allowed, is it?
I don't think so. No.
No, you can't.
I was just thinking, like, if you know how to hunt, you basically cannot starve to death because you can just like set up a tent in the forest and then just like shoot animals, and you don't even have to get a job anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty easy to see that, but like at the same time, if I sat in my stand here, I don't know, 30 times, and I shot one doe, and I probably saw deer on less than half of those times, you have to put in a lot of time. Usually, unless you get lucky and it's like your first sit of the season and you see a monster and then you go and shoot it. But usually, you have to put in a lot of time in order to shoot a buck. Like that's one thing about the Kentucky trip was you had 1 week. Actually, it was 5 days, I think, and you would see bucks, but like I said, they wouldn't be big enough. So you have to see a shooter. And we saw shooters the entire week, but only one came in a range, and it was on the very last day. But yeah.
Deadly shooter. Bah, bah, bah.
Yeah.
Do you have an animal that's on your bucket list that you're gonna, hunt next?
Bear, grizzly bear.
You're gonna do that.
Honestly,
Other than that,
yeah. Other than spear hunting grizzlies with Ray, probably I've always wanted to shoot. Harvest is a more politically acceptable term.
PC word.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Spot and stock mule deer, which is a different species. Here we have whitetails and mule deer. I just think the whole idea of taking a day and a half to stalk it and getting within range, because getting within range of a deer, like especially out on like a wide open plain, is one of the hardest things. And I just think that challenge, especially with a bow, would be super fun. And then I think an elk is also pretty high up there, just because not only that they're such beautiful the animals, but the places that you hunt them, you're in the Colorado Rockies or something like that, and you're in some of those beautiful places. I think that whole experience would just be amazing.
Can they tank more shots because they're bigger?
Which one has a more 50 Cent ability? You don't want those. You don't want those pop smoke deer. You want those 50 Cent deer.
Yeah, the elk. Most people use a gun because they are so big, and you need a big.
Different.
But if you do, like, I would love to do it with a bow. But like the thing is, you need a really heavy arrow.
Yeah.
So it goes through. You need a different broad
Pretty
head.
explosive arrow comes in. Blows the head off.
Explosive arrow, because the elk are strong from all those body weight exercises.
Yeah. No, you need a different broadhead, which is like the really sharp tip that you use when you hunt versus when you are just like shooting at like some target or something. So yeah, mule deer and elk are probably the next two for me. I don't know. I think a moose would be cool, but they're a lot harder to get. Like I know Maine only gives out like 1,000 tags.
How do you get those tags?
You have to go into a lottery, and if you don't live in the state, your chances are even slimmer.
So let's say you don't have one of those tags and you just go out and shoot 5 of them. Like what happens? Do you get sentenced to life in prison or something?
Probably losing your hunting license for your entire life and probably going to jail for like a considerable amount of time.
Why are you here? Because I shot 3 rabbits that I wasn't supposed to.
I don't know. I mean, if you shoot 3 rabbits, no one's gonna really care.
That's true. Does anyone hunt carnivores? I know it's like probably just very not efficient and like because the calories and stuff, right? They eat herbivores and they grow to and they're also fewer. But do people ever hunt like wolves or like jaguars or like?
Yeah, I don't think like the calorie thing is as much of a thing there because I don't know. Usually, I feel like people eat carnivores less. I'm sure they do, but yeah, a lot of people hunt wolves. A lot of people hunt coyotes, fox, and then like Africa, people hunt lions and stuff. I just think that has like no appeal to
Manute Bol.
Wait, who?
Their tribe, Manute Bol.
Yeah.
The basketball player, he came from the tribe that hunt lions and stuff. That's why they're
Oh,
like
really?
so huge. Yeah.
I didn't
Like
even know that.
the lions are like legit afraid of that tribe because every one of them are like huge.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. But yeah, hunting lions, I just feel like that doesn't really have anything in it for me.
Right.
But yeah, in like North America, wolves, coyotes, fox. I'm trying to think of anything. Oh,
Monkeys.
mountain lions,
Can you do monkeys?
Okay.
monkeys, and game. I don't think you can hunt monkeys.
They're strong, man. You gotta be careful with monkeys.
Yeah, especially when they're together. Oh, you gotta be
They're together, you just stand no chance.
Yeah, no chance.
Okay. Sean, any additional questions?
Any additional questions? Well, I don't understand why he wouldn't want to hunt like a lion or something.
Well, it's probably harder to spot, right? And then it's also
It would not be hard to. Lions have nothing to fear.
I don't know. Well, I mean,
you gotta walk up to the biggest man on the block and take him down to earn your respect.
I mean, they're endangered, so that's
a good
that's
point.
true.
I just got destroyed by facts and logic real quick.
Yeah. And then, so yeah, just from that point, I don't really want to partake in killing an endangered species. And then, I don't know, just the way that they hunt them, it's with these huge guns, and I think you use bait a lot. And I don't know, I just don't think it's as much of an ethical chase as like scouting out land and doing your homework and putting up a stand and putting in the hours. I just think that aspect is what I love about hunting, and I just think that it's a completely different thing for lions. I just think it's just really different.
Also, do you have to set up like traps and stuff like the little like in Rambo, for example?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Thingy.
No.
Everything is Rambo.
Like they can just fall into like a little trap, and you can just like accept your fate and then shoot an arrow into it.
A lot of people trap coyotes because like like I said, they eat cats and dogs and stuff like that. But I don't think anybody. I mean, I think you can trap deer, but I don't think it's really and anybody really does it. Especially because the trap you have to use are a lot different. I don't know.
Tools and stuff. Do people eat coyotes, or they just hunt them because they're too annoying?
I'm sure some people do, but they're really a pest in most cases. So I think like people just kill them just to get them out because, like I said, it goes back to like that squashing ants thing. Like, if there's a lot of them, and if like ants wouldn't really be causing a problem, but if there's a lot of coyotes,
or like in the brickyard when the ants come in, the Thayer Academy is responsible for the destruction of probably millions of ants.
It probably is.
Well, they chose the wrong people to mess with, right? It's our turf, and they just came into our turf and caused
the Thayer community, not ant community, and that's what happens when you invade.
Yeah, so like I said, if there is if the coyotes are eating the neighborhood cats, or like all hunters hate them because they eat deer, like they're just usually a problem species, and
like a rodent.
And people just kill them usually just to kill them. Nobody really has that mindset when it comes to deer unless they're eating their garden or something like that.
Got you. Can you like arrow hunt fish? I don't. There's like a thingy
that's like when you go underwater with a
like a spear.
You kill the lionfish. Would you kill lionfish? Theoretically, would you want to kill lionfish with us this summer?
Theoretically, I mean, I guess I know that they are invasive, and that they cause a lot of problems to the reefs and stuff, and I think they come from Australia. But
Can you night hunt like
Well,
have,
that's
like, goggles on and like
yeah, it's
Rambo again? Just have like night vision and like.
for some species in some states, yes, but that's like one of the worst things you can do here.
Because that's kind of scary, right? Because predators come out at night too, and then it's just.
I
like,
mean, yeah, but I still don't think you're gonna be given any sort of problems from one or two coyotes. If it was the mom and the dad and they had pups and the pups were big enough, then they 6v1 they would probably do it.
coyote strong together.
I don't think that's how it works. I think only monkeys can do that, but
Yeah, that might be breaking the laws of monkey.
of thermodynamics. Okay.
Yeah, night hunting is definitely one of the worst illegal things you can do for deer. At least in no, I don't think there's a single state that allows night hunting for deer.
Okay. I mean, cocaine's definitely more illegal, but I get what you're saying.
Oh yeah, for sure is.
Oh,
All right. What a interesting and amazing conversation. I've learned so much more about. Dude, because I have to go back to China. I have so many things. Like the top 3 things on my bucket list are like jujitsu, and then like start hunting and the HEMA, one of my friends doing like the bow. It's the full thing is called like European, like it's like swords fighting and stuff. I'm
That's
just like
Oh, nice.
so one of
Do you
these.
know what you can hunt? Oh,
What?
sorry. Do you know what you can hunt when you get to China?
I'm not good. You can't hunt in China.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought, but
yeah, people get hunted in China, not animals. So like next year when I'm back, or maybe I go to Australia or something, I'll definitely get a license or something. So yeah.
Yeah,
Look
do
forward
it.
to that.
I would
I'll contact you.
recommend.
Hmm?
I would recommend getting a gun because I don't know, stepping straight into using a bow. You can do it, but it's just really, really hard. The good thing about it, like I said, is you can go into someone's yard with their permission, of course. Like
Go in my neighbor's yard with
You can hunt in my yard, right?
go into somebody's land and start shooting up their deer. But yeah, if you got a bow, there's a lot more places you can hunt.
Got you. Thank you, Freely, for being here. We had such a great conversation. We didn't start very hot, but like as
heat it up.
yeah, it started. I can't wait to go outside and try it out.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So thank you, Sean, for being my co-host, for almost falling asleep. He was thinking. He's a deep thinker.
I'm a deep thinker.
Okay. Thank you, Freely. And any last minute shout out? Maybe shout out to the company that makes the best bows, or like
It's got to be by my boy Matthews.
I'll link I put the link down below in the description box, and everyone go buy some bow and arrow.
Yeah,
Thank you guys for listening. Thank you.
Make money off of that.
We'll have Freely back very soon because we have like 50 hours left. But this has been a productive session.
Yeah.
Peace out, everybody. See you next time.
But
yeah.